all these features, you'll know the best days to cast a line or when it will be perfect to explore the wilderness. The WJFW Weather Watch app is available in your app store now. Weather Watch 12, from where you live.
The Diocese of La Crosse televised Mass, Sundays at 6:30 a.m. on this station. Please join Bishop Callahan and the priests and faithful of the diocese Sunday mornings at 6:30 a.m.
This week on the People's Court, did he refuse to win?
Here's the check you won't cash. You just won't take yes for an answer.
Plus,
You brought a lawsuit for 10 grand. I'm gonna cross-examine you.
Our Newswatch 12 news team works around the clock to bring you the news that matters most to the North Woods. NBC Newswatch 12, from where you live. You're watching Newswatch 12, news from where you live.
Right now on Newswatch 12 today, Governor Tony Evers announced his plan to make sure all Wisconsinites will be counted in the 2020 census. We'll have more on the executive order. Plus,
the snow is beginning to taper off. What will the rest of the day look like? I'll have your full forecast coming up.
It's sicking a foreign government on an American citizen to investigate them to help the president stay in power.
And President Trump's phone call to Ukraine earlier this year is causing more static. Today, the National Security Council's top Ukraine expert is testifying about his concerns regarding that conversation. It's Tuesday, October 29th.
Your local news and weather from where you live. Newswatch 12 today starts now.
good morning and thanks for starting your day with us. I'm Marissa Silvis alongside Angela Kim. And Angela, yesterday turned out to be a pretty beautiful day, but then last night the snow arrived.
I know, we had sunshine all day and I was like, all right, not too bad. And then I woke up this morning at 1 a.m. and I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we received too much though. For more on that, let's head right on over to our weather center and our Devin Biggs in for Tyler Moore this morning. And Devin, so far it seems like just kind of a light dusting out there, right?
Yeah, light dusting is some that's already beginning to melt. So today it'll almost be like the snow didn't even happen. The rest of the day will be fine. Let's take a live look outside Minocqua this morning. We're seeing some of that snow on the ground. Looks like they got a little more than what Rhinelander got. We'll have some more of those totals coming in later on throughout the day. Here's the current look at that radar. There's a few flurries out there flying underneath the radar, but the heaviest part of the snow has moved on out. Zoom things out to the west. There is another system heading in our direction that will affect us just in time for Halloween. Overall, the rest of the days or rest of the area is not looking half that bad. Cold out there this morning, 26 degrees in Rhinelander, 24 degrees in Tomahawk. Many of us are in the 20s this morning. Here is your bus stop forecast this morning, 24 degrees and partly cloudy skies as the kiddos get on the bus. But heading into the afternoon hours, temperatures will warm up pretty nicely, 39 degrees with mostly sunny skies for the afternoon. Here is your day planner for the rest of the morning. You will need the coat, so we'll be pretty chilly. Temperatures will rise once we get some of the clouds and the sunshine mixing in. We'll have your full forecast coming up in a little bit.
Wisconsin police say a man died during an officer-involved shooting in Madison. Police responded to reports of gunfire on the west side of the city shortly after 9 p.m. on Sunday. After officers arrived on scene, the suspect opened fire with a handgun. Officers shot back, injuring the man. A neighbor said that she heard loud gunfire outside of her apartment on Sunday night.
It was so close I thought it was on my front lawn. So that was like the first thing to is it in our front lawn? Fortunately, it wasn't. However, it was a safety concern. It was hard for everyone to get to sleep. And I mean, our ears were ringing. It was really loud.
The Dane County Sheriff's Crime Scene Unit and the Wisconsin Department of Justice Crime Scene Unit combed through the leaves using metal detectors to find potential evidence. The suspect, a 63-year-old Madison man, died at the hospital. A Waukegan, Illinois-based company is facing more than $1.5 million in fines for a recent plant explosion. 3 of the 4 people killed were from Kenosha County, Wisconsin. This is video of firefighters removing debris after the May 3rd explosion. OSHA investigators determined AB Specialty Silicons failed to ensure that electrical equipment and installations in the production area complied with electrical standards. The company has 15 business days from the receipt of the citations to comply, request an informal conference with OSHA's area director, or contest the findings.
Governor Tony Evers announced his plan to make sure all Wisconsinites are counted in the 2020 census. Yesterday in Milwaukee, Evers signed Executive Order 55, creating the Wisconsin Complete Count Committee. The group is designed to identify barriers that may prevent hard-to-count populations in Wisconsin from not being counted. Those populations include several groups like immigrant communities, members of tribal nations, Latino and Hmong people, as well as those who live in rural communities, non-traditional housing, and people who have physical disabilities. An inaccurate count could affect Wisconsin's representation in government.
I think that potentially could mean less voice and less opportunities for us here compared to other states.
10 years ago, Wisconsin lost a U.S. congressional district due to a declining population, and that trend continues today. The number of babies born in the state is down 12% in the past 10 years, and some research shows that Wisconsin could see more deaths than 2 births within the next 2 decades. After Justice David Prosser resigned in 2016, then Governor Scott Walker appointed Dan Kelly to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Now, Kelly will face his first public election to keep his seat. He will square off in November against his 2 challengers in the first debate. Supreme Court races are officially nonpartisan, but Republicans support the incumbent Kelly, and Democrats back newcomers Joe Karofsky and Ed Falone. The 3 candidates will face off in a February primary, and the top 2 vote getters will advance to a general election in April. The election could serve as an indicator of Republicans' chances across the state heading into the fall election season.
Former House Speaker Paul Ryan announced his new nonprofit on Monday. He says the American Idea Foundation will be focused on fighting poverty and increasing economic opportunities. Ryan also said it will promote evidence-based reforms on issues like welfare, foster care, and criminal justice. He moved more than $7 million from his congressional account into the nonprofit. The foundation will be based in Ryan's hometown of Janesville. Ryan decided against seeking re-election last year, ending his 20-year career in the House. The former House Speaker has worked at the University of Notre Dame and Fox Corporation since leaving office. The American Idea Foundation will partner with community organizations, academics, and lawmakers.
A wolf in Bayfield County poses a threat to people in the area. According to the USDA Wildlife Services, the wolf is located in the town of Ulu. In a statement from the USDA, a single wolf was exhibiting little fear of humans by coming in close proximity to a person attempting to protect their livestock. The DNR and USDA Wildlife Services will continue to closely monitor the situation. It also verified a damage threat to the livestock and pets at the home.
The impeachment inquiry about President Trump is quickly gaining momentum. And over the next few days, a lot of pieces to the puzzle may start falling into place. John Lawrence has our report.
More static about President Trump's phone call to Ukraine, where he requested the government investigate Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden and his son, Hunter.
How is it an abuse of power? It's sicking a foreign government on an American citizen to investigate them to help the president stay in power.
Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman says that July phone call concerned him, calling it his sacred duty and honor to advance and defend our country, irrespective of party or politics. Vindman is telling House impeachment investigators he reported those worries to a superior.
He has the credibility, the stature, the proven service to the country, the willingness to put his life at risk and stand up and do what's right.
Mr. Trump's supporters say there was nothing inappropriate about the call.
The transcript of the president's call with President Zelensky shows that there was no quid pro quo. He did nothing wrong.
This fake impeachment inquiry has been ill-conceived and illegitimate.
Meanwhile, on Thursday, Judge Richard Leone wants to hear from lawyers from the White House, the House of Representatives, and from impeachment witness Charles Kupperman. This after Kupperman filed a lawsuit asking the federal court to decide whether or not he has to testify. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Also on Thursday, House Democratic leaders said that the full House will vote officially to formalize the impeachment inquiry.
It's enough I have a waiting. Coming up this morning in international news, at least 20 people are dead after protests broke out in Chile. And we'll have more on why these protests are happening.
Plus, people gathered to protest in Barcelona, too, regarding the release of jailed leaders and Catalan independence. We'll have those stories and more news from around the world when we come back.
Yankee Bookstore, celebrating 100 years of selling books in downtown Wausau. Thank you, Central and Northern Wisconsin, for choosing Yankee Bookstore, Wisconsin's oldest bookstore since 1919.
At Lakeside Living Design, we've always got something stylish in store for you. Whether you're looking for high-quality custom upholstery, decorative accessories and gifts, or are designing your space entirely from scratch, you'll have a friendly designer by your side, sharing their expertise, helping you bring your unique style to life. So stop by, explore our showroom, and together we'll make your space feel just like home.
Stop into Menards and save big money on all of your home improvement needs. All Bosch power tool accessories are on sale. This 10-inch 40-tooth saw blade, jigsaw blade set, or 21-piece drill bit set are your choice. $24.99 each. Get the job done with this 18-volt lithium-ion drill and driver combo kit. Just $149. This 10-inch table saw with stand easily folds down for transport or storage. $449 now at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
Together we can make this year's season shine bigger and brighter than last year's event. Lights of the North Woods is a family tradition, and you can be a part of it. Lights needs volunteers, sponsors, and donations to make this a grand community event. Lights' main mission is to help feed the hungry and create a festive atmosphere in the North Woods. This year's event will be 2 weekends, December 13th to the 15th and 20th to the 22nd at Hodeg Park in Rhinelander. Donate, sponsor, or volunteer now at lightsofthenorthwoods.com. Yankee Bookstore, celebrating 100 years of selling books in downtown Wausau. Thank you, Central and Northern Wisconsin, for choosing Yankee Bookstore, Wisconsin's oldest bookstore since 1919.
And welcome back. We have some snow on the ground in Plover this morning. Fortunately, just on the grassy areas. You can see some of the grass out there is still along with the snow, so not much snow fell in Plover. The roads looking pretty good. They're a little wet this morning, but otherwise we're seeing the clouds are beginning to thin on out a little bit. Here are the current advisories. We were under a winter weather advisory. That has since been canceled. Just the counties all to our east, like Green Bay and areas surrounding Green Bay, are under the advisory this morning. We are done with any major snow. Live looking at our radar right now. The rest of it is up in the Marquette area, Michigan. We might be seeing a few flurries out there this morning that might be flying under the radar, but most of us, not too bad out there this morning. Here's another look at that radar and satellite. You can see the snow really moved on off to the east, and we saw some of the clouds this morning also, and there's beginning to thin on out a little bit also, so we might even see the sunrise this morning depending on how fast these clouds get out of here. Here is a wider look at the picture a little bit. We have a cold front that's passing through, which brought the snow with it. That's passing through right now. Another system off to our west. Our next system, though, is going to be off to our south and west a little bit. We're going to be seeing this system right here start to develop and track to the north and east and cause a little bit of a headache for parts of the southern parts of the state. We might see a little bit from this system on Thursday, but it's not looking like a lot at the moment. Here is our temperature trend. It's very stable. Mid to upper 30s will be the general forecast coming up for the next several days, which is well below average. Normally, we are supposed to be in the upper 40s, and we're not even going to be near that anytime soon. Here is your future cast. The clouds will dissipate today along with any snow flurries that we do see, and we should have a mixture of some sun and clouds for the rest of the day. Today, a very nice day to kind of get outside a little bit. You know, the temperatures might still be a little chilly, but we'll at least have some sunshine. Star-filled sky for us tonight, except for our southern counties a little bit. They might see some clouds, but where the clouds stay out of the area, it will get cold tonight. How does upper teens sound? We will definitely have some of those in the forecast tonight. Then pending things out a little bit, here's that next system that will track to our south a little bit. It will skirt parts of southeastern Wisconsin, and the southern parts of our viewing area also will see a little bit of the snow. But otherwise, things aren't half that bad for the rest of the viewing area. Here is your forecast for today. Partly cloudy skies. Highs will be in the upper 30s. Winds out of the west, not bad at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Looking at it towards tonight, though, mostly clear skies and cold. That's the best way to describe it. 17 degrees will be the low with a light southwest breeze, 3 miles per hour or less. Looking ahead towards your day on Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, more clouds will move on in. Highs rebounding again into the upper 30s, but this time the winds will be calm. Here is a look at that Northwoods Furniture 7-day forecast. A couple of days of some pretty dry weather. Upper 30s will be your high temperature. Tuesday and Wednesday night will be a little chilly, and Halloween, again, looking pretty wet with rain and snow possible. Some of that might stick around for Friday and Saturday with a slight chance of snow as more systems from Canada move on in. Otherwise, Sunday looking pretty dry. Don't forget to switch your clocks back. Then more precipitation moving in early next week.
We've got a lot to look forward to this week. Thanks so much, Devin. Well, topping our look at international news this morning, clashes broke out between protesters and security forces in Santiago yesterday.
Anti-government protests started earlier this month over transportation fare hikes. Protesters hurled stones at security forces' vehicles and water cannon trucks sprayed as they drove down the streets in an attempt to dissipate the crowds. Demonstrators have been calling for better pay, pensions, schools, housing and medical care, among many other demands. While most of the protests have been peaceful, some have devolved into riots and looting and left at least 20 people dead. Yesterday, security forces also used tear gas as they attempted to disperse the crowd.
And over in Europe, hundreds of protesters gathered outside Barcelona's Sants train station yesterday, demanding the release of jailed leaders and Catalan independence. The Catalan Separatist Group, or CDR, organized a protest at the train station where they tried to block commuters from entering and leaving. Those attempts were blocked by Catalan police, and the protest remained peaceful. Barcelona has witnessed daily pro-secession protests since October 14th. That was when Spain's Supreme Court sentenced 9 politicians and activists to up to 13 years in jail for their role in a failed independence bid in 2017. That prompted widespread anger in the region. A Belgian court, which will decide whether former Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont should be sent to Spain to hold trial, is set to hold a hearing on the matter today.
And President Trump declassified a photo of the canine hero that was slightly wounded in the commando raid in Syria that took out the leader of ISIS. At a Pentagon briefing about the raid yesterday, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said the military dog was injured but fully recovering. The working dog is part of a classified unit, so the military isn't releasing the canine's name, but President Trump agreed to make a photo of the dog public. The Pentagon says the dog is still serving in the region and returned to duty with its handler. 2 U.S. service members also had minor injuries in the raid that took out Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the founder of ISIS.
It's now 5:15, and coming up next in health news, it's almost time for winter sports to kick into full gear, but experts have warnings about the risk for injuries. We'll have more.
Plus, some homes may have teal pumpkins outside their front door to signify that there's something special about the items that are being handed out there. We'll have those stories and more medical news in just 2 minutes.
For a limited time at Home Furniture, spend $9.99 or more, get 7% tax relief. Spend even more and get double tax relief, plus free shipping and no interest financing for 12 months. Tax relief savings only at Home Furniture. Now open in Wausau Center Mall.
Tonight, only one show.
You made some mistakes, but that doesn't make you unlovable. It makes you human.
Gives us every emotion.
For the sake of our marriage, we need to get out of here. Are you still attracted to me?
This Is Us, tonight on NBC.
Lucky the accident happened so close to us. What do you think?
These women came in with a host of pre-existing conditions.
Maybe it was divine intervention.
All our prayers were answered.
New Amsterdam, tonight on NBC.
Vince Lombardi once said, "Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence." Since 1945, the Brickners have chased perfection. Only a few Chrysler dealers have achieved the Customer First Award for Excellence, and 4 of them are right here in central Wisconsin. The Brickner Family Auto Group. During Ram Power Days, lease a new Ram Crew Cab for only $369 a month, with only $999 due at signing. At your favorite Brickner family dealership in Wausau, Merrill, Antigo, and Little Chicago, you can count on us.
WXBR will be hosting our annual fall auction and concert Sunday, November 3rd at Holiday Acres in Rhinelander. Silent and live auctions, live music by Good Morning Bedlam, as well as wine and hors d'oeuvres. Great getaway packages will be available for bidding. Tickets are $20. More information available at WXPR.org.
Work for righteousness sweet, and if only my mind couldn't stay my own feet.
It's that time of year to winterize, shrink wrap, or store your boat inside at American Marine and Motorsports in Shawano at great rates. Or keep using your boat this fall. Trade it to American Marine by November 30th. Pick your new dream boat from the biggest showroom in the USA and pay no storage or winterizing fees. Plus, no payments and no interest until spring delivery. Lowest prices guaranteed. Boat lovers, it's time to shrink it, store it, or trade it to American Marine and Motorsports. Shawano.
Home Sleep Express has gone purple. Now you can test and buy a famous purple mattress at Home Sleep Express. Sleep cooler and more comfortable on the mattress that broke the internet and get free delivery, setup, plus no interest financing. The famous purple mattress, now at Home Sleep Express. Now open in Wausau Center Mall.
We're seeing the snow clear out of the region right now, and the clouds also breaking up. Also, we'll see a pretty nice day with partly cloudy skies and highs in the upper 30s.
All righty, thanks so much, Devin. And speaking of the snow, though, that we got this morning, topping our look at health news, ski resorts all across the country, they're going to be opening up in the coming weeks for the ski season.
That's right, and while the skiing and snowboarding are a good way to get kids active, new research shows it can also land them in the hospital. Researchers studied hospital records for 845 children who were admitted for snow sport injuries, and more than half of them required surgery. Elementary school-age kids were more likely to suffer a skull or facial structure compared to older children. However, older children had a higher risk of sustaining an injury to their abdominal area.
There's a recall involving a popular anti-anxiety medication. Mylan Pharmaceuticals is recalling one lot of alprazolam due to the potential presence of a foreign substance. The medication is sold under the brand name Xanax and includes bottles containing 500.5 milligram tablets. They were distributed between July and August of this year and have an expiration date of September 2020. Mylan says they have not received any adverse events related to the recalled batch, and consumers with any questions can contact customer relations at 800-796-9526.
And there should be more information about artificial sweeteners on food labels. That's according to the latest policy statement from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Experts say there needs to be more research about how artificial sweeteners may possibly impact children's long-term health. Previous research has shown that more than a quarter of children consume artificial sweeteners, and parents may not be aware of it. So now they are calling for the amount of no or low-calorie sweeteners to be listed on product labels instead of listing them among ingredients.
Well, this Halloween, teal pumpkins outside homes are more than just a decoration.
That's right. For kids with life-threatening food allergies, they're an indication that it's a safe place to trick-or-treat.
Sarah Daloff has our story.
This is my Halloween candy.
For Braxton Mendoza, the scariest part of Halloween,
It's multiples of the same thing, really.
is the part many other kids look forward to the most, trick-or-treating.
He's allergic to dairy and peanuts.
Meaning candy with those ingredients, including chocolate, will trigger a dangerous reaction.
I just look down and try to not say anything because I can't eat that much stuff.
But the Teal Pumpkin Project is aiming to make sure kids with food allergies like Braxton don't get left out. Participating homes place a teal pumpkin outside, indicating inside they have candy and non-food treats.
It could be the fun spider rings, glow sticks, stickers. Just be creative and find the thing that fits the price of your pocketbook, but is also something small that kids can easily pop into their bucket.
Halloween can be a tricky time for the 1 in 13 kids in the U.S. with food allergies, and health experts advise them and their parents to pack an EpiPen before heading out, because ingredients for mini and fun-size candies can sometimes differ from full-size versions, as can factory conditions.
So it may actually have their allergen in the miniature size candy when it doesn't have it in the full size.
Making the Teal Pumpkin Project a safe solution for the Mendozas.
I wish more people knew about it and more people participated.
No tricks, just treats, and all kids included. Sarah Daloff, NBC News.
You know, I think it'll be great for the kids, too, to have something to look forward to, even if they do have these intense allergies.
Sure, and really important just to educate everyone what that means.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, still to come this morning in sports, a former Badgers player and Wisconsinite in the NFL is out for the season after a shoulder injury this weekend. We'll explain.
Plus, Sunday, the Packers improved to 7-1. We'll hear reaction from both Coach Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers on their most recent win against Kansas City. Plus, Devin will have his travel forecast right after this quick break.
Before you go home, could I get your eyes on this?
Hey, it's not pressing.
It's really not that important. I'm just trying to be proactive.
You just go.
I just need you to look at this. Hey.
That would work.
You know, Mondays.
Made for the modern boss. The tech-advanced Nissan Murano. This is Nissan Intelligent Mobility.
Now, get 0% financing for 36 months or get a low $234 per month lease on the 2019 Murano.
I have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now there's Skyrizi.
Things are getting clearer. Yeah, I feel free to bare my skin. Yeah, that's all me. Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin. That's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Keep your skin clearer with Skyrizi. 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. Of those, nearly 9 out of 10 sustained it through 1 year. And Skyrizi is 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
I see nothing in a different way. And it's my moment, so I just gotta say. Nothing is everything.
Skyrizi may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or coughs, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi.
Nothing equals that moment when you sense it. The sunlight sparkling on the water, a mouth-watering assortment of delicious foods, that first sip of your favorite frosty drink, warm, welcoming smiles all around you, the adrenaline rush of hitting a jackpot, an invigorating live performance, that feeling of belonging. Lake of the Torches Resort Casino. Winning's more fun at the lake.
When disaster strikes, donated cash is the best form of relief. Cash is flexible and can quickly become whatever people need most, like all sizes and types of clothes, food choices specific to the affected area, access to clean drinking water, or medical supplies and other essentials. Cash is immediate and gives people who need aid the ability to provide it. Cash is best because cash is possibilities.
Welcome back. The Green Bay Packers stand alone atop the NFC North after a 31-24 win over Kansas City on Sunday night.
That's right. The Packers dealt with being up 14-0 and then Kansas City scoring 17 unanswered. But Coach Matt LaFleur said he was proud of his team's ability to deal with adversity.
But our guys, they're resilient and they didn't quit. And we stuck together and found a way to pull it out. It was really encouraging at the end of the game when we needed to stop. Our defense came up big, and then our offense was able to close out in that 4 minutes.
Aaron Rodgers and the Packers offense ended with a 21-yard drive to close out the game. And Rodgers said on that drive's pivotal 3rd and 5, he trusted running back Aaron Jones.
You know, we're over there talking on the sidelines how we want to close that game out on 3rd and 5, and the consensus was let's throw it to Jonesy. Says a lot about the kind of player that he is. And
Aaron Jones led the Packers with 159 yards from scrimmage. And an important note, the Packers game next week against the Panthers has been rescheduled to a 3:25 start time.
And Wisconsin alumnus and former Badger J.J. Watt left the Texans game on Sunday after being injured during a tackle. The game against the Raiders will be his last of the year. The Texans medical staff fears Watt tore his pectoral muscle. The 30-year-old Watt did not miss a game during his first 5 seasons of his career, but Watt did have season-ending injuries in 2016 and 2017. Last season, Watt played in all 16 regular season games, finishing the season with 16 sacks, which ranked 2nd in the NFL. So just a really, really gut-wrenching end of the season for J.J. Watt. He does so much good for the team, for the community. Wisconsin loves him, even though he plays for the Texans, so just really tough to see.
I know. I'm sure a lot of fans in Wisconsin Wisconsin are especially bummed for him because it really stinks whenever anything like that does happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Devin, I'm sure people in the area too, they might be concerned about the snow, but there's really not too much to report about, right?
Yeah, the snow, good news, the snow is finally getting out of here. It's actually just cold out here this morning. It's just a little chilly outside. I just measured the snow accumulation here a little while ago, 0.3 inches, so fortunately not much snow across the region. A live look outside on our sky cam right now at the airport. Everything is all nice and quiet, 26 degrees. Winds, fortunately not much of a problem at 3 miles per hour. Current temperatures, though, it's definitely chilly. We're in the mid to upper 20s across most of the region. Farther to the north and west, there's less clouds across the region, so we're seeing lower 20s for their temperatures right now. Here's a look at your radar and satellite. The snow is clearing out and so are the clouds. We might get lucky and see the sunrise this morning, which will be shortly after 7:30. Here is your travel forecast here on this Tuesday. It'll be pretty nice. Low to mid 40s for the western part of the state with a mixture of clouds and sun. Panning farther to the east, a little cooler, upper 30s to low 40s with, again, mixture of some clouds and sun. And farther to the south, though, again, mixture of clouds and sun. Highs will be in the low 40s, so not a bad day to travel at all. We'll have more news and weather coming up after the break.
Beatty Family Dental is now located at 619 East Wall Street in Eagle River. At Beatty Family Dental, we offer complete dental care for all ages. We listen to you and identify comfortable treatment options that best fit your specific dental needs. We offer the comfort of sedation dentistry, laser technology, as well as time-saving convenience of single-visit crowns. Make your appointment and visit our brand new state-of-the-art facility, Beatty Family Dental, where we are passionate about treating you well.
Why choose People's State Bank?
Every one of those tellers know me, and they're always so friendly to me. It's just a pleasant experience every time I go through there. That is just a great start to the day. You have to have that trust and the friendship in order to do business with a person. You get treated with great respect, and it's just a great bank to deal with.
Make People's your choice. Voted Best Bank and Best Mortgage Company in Marathon County. Stop by a location today or visit us online at bankpeoples.com.
Hi, I'm Tammy from Arpin, and I came to see Dr. Scher with severe lower back pain and nerve pain, and I was also unable to walk or stand without any help. Many of my appointments I needed to use a walker, and I was having a hard time even getting to his appointments riding in a vehicle. He was able to get me moving again, doing the things I love to do. I was able to get rid of my walker. I was able to ride in a vehicle longer than an hour. I am forever grateful to him and his wonderful staff.
Are you suffering with back or neck pain and considering the possibility of surgery? At the Spinal Aid Center of Wausau, we incorporate the latest technologies, including high-intensity laser therapy that provides the highest success rates in helping people just like you avoid back and neck surgery. With our treatments, there are no drugs and no surgery, just relief. Call today for a free spinal disc severity consultation and see if our treatments are right for you. Call 715-203-4392 or visit us at spinalaid.com. Start living your life pain-free.
You're watching Newswatch 12 Today with Marissa Silvas, Angela Kim, and Tyler Moore.
Good morning. Thanks for waking up with us today. It's Tuesday, October 29th. But in case you have not yet heard this morning, we got some snow.
That's right. And it's not really bad up here at all. But further south toward Milwaukee, they did get a couple inches of snow in some areas. And residents, they didn't take any chances.
Brett Lemoyne has our report.
It's the calm before the storm.
It's never thinking ahead of time.
At TNT Ace Hardware in Waukesha.
It's like with snow falls, it's like, get salt.
And worker Pat McElrath is expecting a doozy.
And we have pusher shovels.
Rows of neatly hung shovels.
So you can not only push, but you can lift.
And sidewalks of salt will soon fill with customers trying to get a head start on Tuesday's snow.
As soon as the sun goes down, people buy salt. It's like, it has something to do with the sun.
For the Waukesha County Highway Department, snow means the sun is setting on another season. Last-minute construction and pothole filling along I-94 in Delafield is being done before the snow.
Too early.
Sidelines work for at least another week.
We're patching 94 with a liquid asphalt, filling in some of those potholes that are still giving us problems from last winter.
Highway Supervisor Rick Gillis says crews will be out starting at midnight to spray salt brine on overpasses.
This will be one of our I-94 trucks.
And heavily traveled spots as needed.
It'll melt it off. In these temperatures, brine is perfect. It'll melt it right off.
This season's snowfall is hitting early. The average first day of measurable snow is typically November 13th. while December 2nd is the average first time we get 1 to 2 inches of snow, which is what Waukesha is expecting overnight.
It's going to be very slushy out there. You might think it's not bad, but then you'll come to an area like a bridge deck that might be a little slippery.
You know, honestly, I think I'm still in denial that there's even snow in the first place.
I know. I think I got extra nervous, though, so I actually took our car that has the good snow tires on it. I put my snow brush and scraper in it, but it looks like I don't really need it this morning, thankfully.
Yeah, it's really not sticking around too much here in our area. I mean, we didn't get as much as Milwaukee did, which is nice.
Exactly, but it is cold out there.
It is. For more on that, let's head over to our weather center with Devin Biggs filling in for Tyler Moore. And Devin, the biggest thing for you this morning, you said it was really cold outside, right?
Yes, it's chilly out there this morning. The clouds are starting to clear out a little bit, which will make things feel a little colder until the sun comes up later this morning. Live look in Plover this morning. We're seeing some snow in the grassy areas, but we're seeing some grass also. So not a lot of snow down in the Plover area, but the clouds, they are beginning to thin on out. Here's a current look at the radar. We're seeing some of those clouds left, but the precipitation pretty much moving on out of here. Other than possibly a few flurries out there, that is pretty much about it. I'm keeping our eye to the southwestern United States again because we have another system that will track in our direction later on in the week. Here are those temperatures this morning: 28 degrees in Mosinee, 27 degrees in Stevens Point, 22 degrees though in Phillips, where there are less cloud cover in that neck of the region. Here is your bus stop forecast: 24 degrees under partly cloudy skies when you get the kiddos off to school. Then once they come home, 39 degrees, not bad, with mostly sunny skies. Here is their hourly forecast here on this Tuesday morning, warming up to 36 degrees by the noon hour, eventually up to 39 degrees. We'll have your full forecast coming up in a little bit.
All right, definitely a chilly start though. Thanks, Devin. Well, Pucall Lumber will expand after purchasing Minocqua Hardware and Rental. The new location will be the lumber manufacturer's 4th location in northern Wisconsin. Arborvitae-based Pucall Lumber has been looking for years into better serving people who live just south of Minocqua.
If you've ever been in Minocqua in the summer, you know it's impossible to get from the north end to the south end of Minocqua. So this location is a very strategic position for location for us.
The storefront will mostly serve professional contractors, but it will continue to function also as a hardware store.
We're going to carry displays of wood windows. We're going to carry a whole line of tools. We're going to carry work boots and work clothing for the contractor, which is kind of unique in that regard.
The building is expected to be open in January. Pucall Lumber is hiring new employees to help with that expansion.
Several local volleyball teams made the sectional round of the playoffs last weekend. State championships are still a week away, but one local athlete has already beat out everyone in Wisconsin. Newswatch 12's Andrew Goldstein has more in this week's Sports Spotlight.
She can do 3s and 1s and 2s and C's and B's.
Every set has a different name, and Kelly Bohr can do them all.
So I constantly ask my hitters, what can I do better? Where do you need the ball more? So I can deliver them a better set the next time.
That has not been a problem this year. Kelly has racked up 939 assists, more than anyone in the whole state. Although it really isn't that big of a deal to her.
I take more pride in how my team does as a whole. Whenever I see one of my teammates hit a great kill off of one of my sets, that's what makes me the happiest.
This past weekend made Kelly pretty happy. The Rebels won their first regional title ever as a co-op.
I think the chemistry this year has been better than any of the past years.
A lot of that is because of the new sets that Kelly and the hitters have been working on.
We introduced the C set, which is like a push out to the outside, which is kind of different than anything that we see in high school volleyball. It makes us have the sense of trust, like we know what we're capable of, we know when someone's going to be there.
And if there's one thing the Rebels can depend on, it's Kelly Bohr giving them the ball in just the right place.
When I saw Sydney asking me, hey, can we try this new set? I'm like, I'm all for it. Anything that will help us do better.
In Leona, Andrew Goldstein, Newswatch 12.
Now, Leona Mobina will hit the road for their sectional semifinal match against Gresham on Thursday.
And they are just 2 matches away from the state tournament in Green Bay, so close.
I know, but so far, but fingers crossed for them.
We'll see. Yeah, good luck.
Absolutely. And up next this morning, we do have some news you can use, including Apple's newest AirPods that comes to stores tomorrow. And we'll tell you about some of the upgrades from the latest edition.
Plus, people all across the country are gearing up for Halloween, and so are their pets. We'll have those stories and more consumer news in just a bit.
It was in February. I was playing pond hockey and literally had to be helped up. I was in constant pain after that. So I came to Dr. Drager and they started me on the laser treatment. I realized as I've gone through this every day I was feeling better, and I am so happy with coming to see Dr. Drager.
Contact Drager Chiropractic in Eagle River to see if high-intensity laser treatment is right for you. Call 715-479-5995.
Whether you're tracking your next trophy or training your new puppy, get everything you need at Fleet Farm. This week, get hot sale prices on a Stealth Cam No Glow IR Trail Cam, $114.99. Blue Buffalo large bag dog food, $5 off our low fleet price. A men's Carhartt short coat, only $49.99. And select Goodyear tires, buy 3 and get the 4th free. Fleet Farm is built for every season. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
Minocqua Popcorn and Puffs makes us great Christmas gifts. Why don't we send them to the personal trainer that keeps us nice and slim, and also the snowplow driver that keeps the roads open for us all winter long. What do you think about that, Mr. Easter Bunny? Wouldn't they make nice gifts? Very good.
Minocqua Popcorn and Puffs. Put a ribbon on it and make it a sweet personal or corporate gift.
Next week, a Jeopardy legend is back. James Holzhauer and 14 other Jeopardy champions return to face their biggest challenge yet in the Jeopardy Tournament of Champions.
If you're going to beat him, you had better bring your A game.
It all starts next week.
Bring it.
Jeopardy! Weekdays at 4:30 on NBC 12.
And welcome back. We're seeing some of the snow on the roof in parts of Minocqua this morning. You can see some of the snow on the ground there. Not much fell in Minocqua either. Thankfully, we kind of escaped any of the heavier parts of the snow, and things are beginning to quiet on down. You can see we are no longer under this winter weather advisory. It's just the eastern part of the state now. Areas around Green Bay are under this winter weather advisory. For us, everything's quieting on down, and yes, even the clouds are beginning to clear on out also. Here's a current look at that radar. All the precipitation left is in parts of the Marquette region. Everything's kind of quieting down, other than perhaps a few snow flurries still out there. But for most of us, things are beginning to wrap up with regards to this system, and you can see the clouds pretty much getting out here as well, so even the flurry chances pretty much becoming few and far between. Let's take a wider look to see kind of what we're dealing with right now. We have a cold front across the Midwest that brought us the snow last night to early this morning. It's getting out of here. We have another system in the southern United States. Here's a low pressure system right here, southwestern United States. We're going to watch it again. Another system going to track our way this time by Thursday. And the temperatures are going to be kind of the biggest story though, because we're going to be well below average. Normally temperatures are in the mid to upper 30s. Actually, we're supposed to be in the upper 40s for this time of the year, but we're only going to be in the mid to upper 30s for the next several days. So have the winter coats handy. It's not going to be very warm anytime soon. The sunshine will peek out from time to time, which will make things feel a little bit warmer with regards to that. Here is your futurecast. The clouds getting on out here today. We'll call it partly cloudy today. We'll have the stars peeking out later tonight. With that and no wind, radiational cooling. What does that mean? It's going to mean that it's going to be pretty chilly out there tonight. Temperatures will drop like a rock. Heading into early tomorrow morning, though, we might see some clouds for our southern counties, though, so temperatures might stop falling for a little while. But for the northern counties, it's going to get pretty cold. And how cold are we talking? How about upper teens? It's going to get pretty chilly out there. Here is our next system that we'll have to keep an eye on. And some models are keeping it out of our region, other models not so much. Here's our European model heading into the day on Thursday. It'll start dragging our neck of the region. We might see maybe areas along to the southeast of Wausau might be seeing some of this precipitation. Again, accumulation's not looking very impressive either with this thing, but we'll just see a few little bits of snow before things wrap up during the evening hours on Thursday, which is Halloween. Here is your forecast for today. Upper 30s to low 40s today. Mixture of clouds and sun will be seen. Panning further to the south, though, temperatures not much warmer either. Lower 40s, though, more consistent lower 40s, so it's not going to be much warmer, even though with the sun out. Lows tonight going to get cold. Mostly clear skies and cold. Lows will be in the upper teens. Not much of a wind to talk about whatsoever. Tomorrow, though, not warming up much. Mid to upper 30s for the southern part of the viewing area, and not much warmer for the northern part either. Mid to upper 30s will be the general forecast. Here is your Northwoods Furniture 7-day forecast. Again, Tuesday and Wednesday looking pretty dry. Thursday, Halloween, we do have a chance of rain and snow possible. Accumulation's not very exciting right now. Slight chance on Friday and Saturday as some systems out of Canada moves on in. Catch a break on Sunday, which is also when we set our clocks back an hour. And Monday, more precipitation moves into the region.
Some chilly nights ahead. Thanks so much, Devin. Well, topping our look at consumer news this morning, Apple goes pro with its next AirPods.
That's right. The new AirPods Pro feature noise cancellation, sweat resistance, and some new sizing options. This comes after a number of people complained that one size does not fit all. The AirPods Pro will ship with 3 different sizes of silicone ear tips at a cost of $249. You can order them from the Apple Store app now or get them in store starting tomorrow.
According to a recent Key Bank report, nearly 1/3 of their secured credit card holders became eligible for an unsecured credit card after a year. Secured cards are usually held by people with little credit or poor credit. Users secure their cards by making a deposit with the lender that secures their credit line. Key Bank says that they promote their secured cards not only as a way to help establish good credit, but also a way to build good money management skills. The lender says that the limits tend to be lower because users have to pony up the cash before they can get a credit line. They say that the low limit prevents users from running up huge balances, and they usually pay off the balance each month, which experts say is a good habit to get into.
Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Sprint have all teamed up to change the way texting carries across networks. The 4 major wireless carriers issued a joint press release saying that they're working on a project called Cross Carrier Messaging Initiative, or CCMI. The initiative calls for an interoperable messaging service called Rich Communication Service, which may eventually replace the current system that's known as SMS, which stands for Short Message Service. The new system will offer better high-quality pictures and videos, better group chats as well, and other features iMessage and WhatsApp app users will go to regular texting. A new standalone app that uses the new standard is expected on Android phones by 2020. And the general manager for CCMI says the goal is to make sure user chats are private and the app being developed to officers and gives them an experience that users will all trust.
Well, it is a spooky figure when it comes to Halloween spending, and according to the National Retail Federation, Americans are expected to spend nearly $9 billion this holiday.
And the big winners this year are your pets, with people dishing out nearly $500 million on costumes for their fur babies.
That's right. Mary Maloney has more in today's Consumer Watch.
Are you dressing up your pup or fur ball for Halloween? You're not alone, and social media sites are helping fuel the popular trend. According to the National Retail Federation, shoppers will spend about $490 million on pet costumes this year. That number is more than double what the NRF saw nearly a decade ago. The survey found 29 million people plan to dress their pets in costume for Halloween. Top costumes this year include pumpkins, hot dogs, and superheroes. The survey also suggests people are looking to social media for Halloween inspiration, with many pet parents showing off their dressed-up furry friends online. And it's not just pets. The NRF also says people turn to sites like YouTube and Pinterest to find creative inspiration for that ideal costume for themselves. Overall, those celebrating Halloween expect to spend about $86 on average this year, with costumes being the biggest expense, followed by decorations and candy. The top costumes for adults this year are witch, vampire, and superhero. Happy haunting! For Consumer Watch, I'm Mary Maloney.
Not everybody's needs are the same, and so our facilities need to adjust as student needs change.
Representatives at the Rhinelander High School turned one part of the school into a safer space by creating a gender-neutral bathroom for anyone identifying as transgender or transitioning.
Coming up at 6, we'll hear why some think that this is an important step for the whole community. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
New tire sale is on now at Phillips Service Center. Get the best tire for your vehicle's handling and performance at the best deals of the season. Prices and service so competitive, it pays to shop local at Phillips Service Center on Lake Street in Phillips.
Eagle River Roasters, your Northwoods coffee roaster and community coffee house, has the freshest specialty coffee and tea in the Northwoods. Our coffee comes from choice Arabica beans, hand blended and roasted on premise for the finest specialty drinks. Fresh bakery, breakfast, and lunch served daily, our comfortable coffee house is the perfect place for meeting friends or groups. The drive-thru is also open daily. Treat yourself with a great cup of coffee or take some beans to brew at home, fresh from Eagle River Roasters, your Northwoods coffee roaster and community coffee house.
Hi, I'm Katie from Featherstone Cabinetry and Design. When I want the local forecast in Minocqua, I go to WJFW.com and check my hometown weather.
Your hometown weather, available 24/7 at WJFW.com.
For every challenge, there's a Honda ATV up to the task. Find yours at American Honda ATVs of Shawano. With the biggest selection, excellence in service, and the best pricing around on 4x4s, side-by-sides, and the new Talon 1000s, offering performance and fun for up to 4 passengers. American Honda ATVs of Shawano is where it's at.
Here's an anonymous note. Rest in peace to all the famous people we know about who died from drug and alcohol abuse. Who's next? You? A family member? You can stop this kind of death in its tracks. Call the Drug and Alcohol Detox and Treatment Helpline now for help. If you have insurance, we can put you or a loved one in a program to eliminate the drugs and alcohol in 7 to 30 days. Change your life now.
Welcome back. Vaping manufacturers are already facing criticism for marketing sweet flavors to young people. And now 2 new studies suggest that their products' flavoring and marketing do have an impact on e-cigarette use among young people.
Meredith Wood has a closer look at those twin studies in today's Health Minute.
Strawberry, candy, and bubblegum. New evidence supports the idea that those fruity and candy flavors may have an impact on vaping habits among young people. That's according to 2 recently published studies. The first one surveyed a group of high schoolers in Los Angeles. It found students who used fruity or candy flavors were more likely to still be vaping 6 months later and took more puffs. That's compared to the relatively few who vaped only traditional flavors like mint, menthol, and tobacco. The authors say the results show that regulations may help reduce youth exposure to flavored e-cigs. And the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is under pressure to issue a nationwide e-cigs flavor policy. The agency is also taking action against vaping companies for making unauthorized flavor products, making unproven health claims, and advertising that violates policy. A second study published in the same journal, Pediatrics, found that young people exposed to e-cig marketing were more likely to experiment within the following year. More than 70% of participants ages 12 to 24 who had never previously used tobacco said they noticed ads for e-cigs in the previous month on a variety of platforms. For today's Health Minute, I'm Meredith Wood.
Well, it's time now for us to head out to the weather deck. And Devin, I know it's cold out there, but doesn't the snow look really pretty on the pumpkins, even though it's just a dusting?
Yeah, it's a little cold out here this morning, but the good news is there is no wind, but it's actually kind of a little bit of a curse too. No wind and the clouds getting out here. That's going to allow temperatures to drop like a rock for a little while this morning. Let's take a look outside at the airport this morning. Still 26 degrees in Rhinelander. Fortunately, not much of a wind, but I'm sure within the next observation we might see that temperature drop a little bit. Here's a look at the visibility out there, which helps us to see if there's any flurries out there, and there might be one in Mantowish Waters. It's a little foggy out there this morning. Phillips still 4-mile visibility at the moment. Here is the radar and satellite. Things are starting to clear out though. Some foggy, maybe some flurries at times in some places, but otherwise we're going to start seeing the sun later this morning once it rises after 7:30. Here is the travel forecast here on this Tuesday. Low to mid 40s for most of us with a mixture of some clouds and sun. A little cooler the farther east you go with upper 30s to low 40s. Again, lots of sunshine we'll be seeing today, then panning farther to the south, low 40s with a mixture of clouds and sun. We'll have more news and weather coming up after the break.
Stop into Menards and save big money on all of your home improvement needs. Rayovac powers the devices you use every day. Right now, pick up a 16-pack of AA or AAA batteries. Your choice, just $4.99 each. All stock Kidde home safety products are on sale. This general use fire extinguisher is $12.99. This photoelectric smoke alarm has a worry-free 10-year sealed-in lithium battery. Only $14.99 now at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
Hi, I'm Dr. Justin Scher, DC with the Spinal Aid Center of Wausau. Are you one of the millions of people suffering with the symptoms of peripheral neuropathy? Your symptoms may include numbness and tingling in your feet or hands, difficulty sleeping from leg or foot discomfort, and debilitating balance problems. I have good news for you. You can now get relief with our breakthrough treatment method without the use of drugs or surgery. Our treatments help to heal damaged nerves that cause peripheral neuropathy. If left untreated, you may eventually end up with a walker or wheelchair, so don't delay. Call our office now to schedule an appointment to see if our treatment methods are right for you. We will do a painless neuropathy severity exam to determine the amount of nerve loss. If you qualify for our treatment, it can truly change your life. Start living your life pain-free. Call today.
Thousands of people contact General Steel each month for a pre-engineered steel building. Business owners who need office, retail, manufacturing, or storage facilities. Leaders who need churches, schools, and gymnasiums. They all want the same thing, the advantages of owning, to build quickly and save money. Quality, backed by our 50-year structural warranty. And they all want to work with a name they know, General Steel. Call us today for the building you need and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction.
You're watching Newswatch 12 Today with Marissa Silvas, Angela Kim, and Tyler Moore.
And welcome back. Here's something you definitely don't want to see while driving on the highway. A dynamic fire is threatening homes near Los Angeles and the I-405 freeway. The Getty fire has consumed more than 600 acres and it's still growing. 10,000 structures are now in the evacuation zone. 500 firefighters are battling the flames, which started as a small brush fire early yesterday morning. Investigators say it was not started by homeless living in nearby camps. A December 2017 fire in the same area was sparked by illegal cooking at a homeless encampment. Officials are still trying to determine what caused the Getty fire. Not a very good situation at all.
No, and it's so sad too that this is happening up and down the state too, not just in Los Angeles, but all of California. They're really struggling with a lot of different wildfires going on at the same time right now.
Yeah, definitely. And those blackouts going on too, those planned blackouts, which is adding to the chaos as we've heard on the news.
Exactly, yeah. So many power outages, so many people affected, and just a terrifying scene. I can't imagine driving and seeing that so close.
I'd rather take the snow any day.
Right.
And we did get some snow.
We did get a little bit. We did get a little bit of snow, 0.3 inches, so fortunately not much, but here we go. It seems like we skipped right over fall and went right into winter. And of course, outside we can see some of the snow on the roof in Minocqua this morning. The road's looking pretty good. They dropped the winter weather advisory for us, so things are starting to calm down and starting to clear out a little bit this morning. Also, zooming things out here for our future cast. Again, partial cloudiness today with some sunshine also. Not too bad. Might see some clouds for our southern counties coming up later on. Here is your hour-by-hour forecast. Warming up into the upper 30s. Some of you may touch the low 40s later on in the afternoon. That 7-day forecast, a couple of dry days including today, but Halloween, you might need your winter coats and umbrellas because some snow will be possible again. It's just going to be cold. It's just, there's no other way to describe it. Mid to upper 30s will be our high temperatures coming up, well below average. And Marissa and Angela, not a good situation coming up if you're a fan of warmer weather.
No kidding. No, but I got to say, on the bright side, there was a lot of sun in your graphics too. So even though it's going to be a little chilly, you got some sunshine for you.
Yeah, there's some sunshine in the mix as well.
Yeah. I love that you looked for the bright side too, because when I saw that 7-day forecast, I forgot that this weekend we fall back and gain an hour on Saturday night. So that was what I was looking at. So yeah, so there's always positives.
There's some positives there.
Yeah.
Always a bright side. Thanks so much, Dad. Yep. Well, next on Newswatch 12 today, the Redlander High School created a new safe space for people by turning a men's bathroom into something different. We'll explain.
We'll have that story for you. Plus, Governor Tony Evers is making a stop in Wausau this week. We'll tell you why he'll be in the area. That's coming up in our next half hour. But first, you're waking up with Newswatch 12 today here on NBC.
Why take the hit on this 2019 Yukon XL when you could save $6,000 on this used 2017? If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Go now to lenstruck.com. That's lenstruck.com.
Creative Kitchen and Bath Studio has designed beautiful and functional kitchens and baths in the Northwoods. With in-home consultation available, they provide 3D drawings of your spaces to bring your visions to life. Owner and designer Sarah has over 20 years of experience, overseen 500 plus projects, and built strong relationships with local contractors providing superior installation. Whether it's a new home or a remodel, Creative Kitchen and Bath Studio in Eagle River looks forward to making your dream kitchen or bath a reality.
Ease the burden for those you love with advanced funeral planning. Contact Mike Bolger or Jill Yelton, your certified pre-planning specialist at Bolger Funeral and Cremation Services of Minocqua and Woodruff.
Hippo, your heartbeat is music to my ears. As your official doctor, I'm prescribing some hip-hop-opotamus boogie down time, followed by snacks.
Gotta go see your specialist, sweetie. We'll see Hippo when we get back.
I'll be back with the snacks. You make some tea. Marshfield Children's.
Do I look unhappy?
Do I look like I'm struggling?
Do I look like someone you feel sorry for? Does looking at me make you feel uncomfortable?
Do I make you want to look away? What about now?
Let's go, baby! Let's go!
Touchdown! What a great job by Aaron Rodgers.
NBC 12, from where you live.
Why take the hit on this 2019 Yukon XL when you could save $6,000 on this used 2017? If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Go now to lenstruck.com. That's lenstruck.com.
Hi, this is Kit Belanger from Miracle Ear of Stevens Point. If you're having a hard time hearing the news or your favorite entertainment shows, stop by and see me for a free hearing test.
Right now on Newswatch 12 Today, leaders at Rhinelander High School recently changed a part of their building to make sure all students feel safe. We'll have more on a gender-neutral bathroom. Plus,
we saw some snow this morning, but the good news is it's clearing out. I'll have your full forecast coming up in a little bit.
And as Devin mentioned, snow arrived in Wisconsin overnight, and with the change in seasons, a demonstration on ski lift inspections will be happening this week at Granite Peak in Wausau. We'll have more on who will be on hand for that event. It's Tuesday, October 29th.
Your local news and weather from where you live. Newswatch 12 Today starts now.
good morning. Thanks for waking up with us today. I'm Angela Kim, here with Marissa Silvis. Representatives from Rhinelander High School want to give students the ability to use a bathroom where they feel comfortable and safe.
Newswatch 12's Maya Reese has more on how this local school will provide new options to members of the LGBTQ community.
Maggie Peterson works with students every day at the Rhinelander High School. The school recently converted a men's room into a gender-neutral bathroom to accommodate students who identify as either transgender or transitioning.
We're a public school and we want to create a safe and inclusive environment for everybody. Not everybody's needs are the same, and so our facilities need to adjust as student needs change.
The bathroom is located between the library and Superior Diesel Advanced Learning Center. It has full ceiling-to-floor stalls that have either urinals or toilets. Faculty at the school hope the community sees the importance of these adjustments.
The message that we hope resonates with the community is that we will continue to pay attention to what students and families need, and that we'll be diligent about that, and we'll always be asking ourselves, how can we be better?
Ron Busher works with the LGBTQ youth in the Northwoods. He says he has already heard positive feedback from local teenagers.
The kids are so excited about it. They feel so
happy that the school is thinking of them.
Busher believes this decision sends an important message.
To show the students that they are having a zero tolerance for any kind of bullying or whatever, and including transgender or LGBTQ students is really, really good because it makes you feel cared about.
In Rhinelander, Maya Reese, Newswatch 12.
Now the bathroom is already open and can be used by anybody.
And school leaders are analyzing their facility to see what other bathrooms can also become gender neutral.
But Marissa, I think anyone heading to school this morning, they might think they need their winter boots because of the snow last night, but it actually isn't too bad outside.
It's not bad, no, but they will need their winter coats for sure.
Absolutely. Guys, it's so cold outside. For more on that, let's head over to our weather center with Devin Biggs. He's filling in for Tyler Moore. And Devin, you were on the weather deck earlier. You were pretty chilly out there, right?
Yeah, it's a little chilly out there this morning. You'll need a winter coat this morning as you head out the door because temperatures are chilly this morning. They'll warm up a little bit this afternoon, but we're just going to remain below average for the next several days. Let's take a live look outside right now. Things are pretty quiet in Plover. Seeing a little bit of some of the grass with the snow out there this morning, so not much in the way of any snowfall that fell. Right now, the radar is quieting on down. Just a little bit of cloud cover left, but everything's starting to clear out in that regard, too. We're watching the west, though, because Thursday, another system will track in our direction. That will be one we'll have to keep an eye on also. Current temperatures, though, 21 degrees in Tomahawk and in Phillips, 26 degrees in Merrill, and 25 degrees in Eagle River. Here is that bus stop forecast this morning. It'll be 24 degrees with partly cloudy skies as you get the kiddos off to school. Then by the afternoon hours, 39 degrees with mostly sunny skies. Here is that day planner, and temperatures starting to warm up once the sun rises. We'll hit 39 degrees for your afternoon high. We'll have your full forecast coming up in a little bit.
Not too bad. Thanks so much, Devin. Well, snow overnight, though, provides a reminder that ski hills need to prepare for the season. A demonstration on ski lift inspections will be happening this Thursday at Granite Peak in Wausau. Governor Tony Evers will be there to see how it's done, along with the leader of the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services. They'll be joined by Wisconsin's tourism secretary, who will talk about winter recreation across the state. Outdoor recreation creates an estimated 168,000 jobs in Wisconsin and more than $5 billion in wages.
And chambers in a number of locations around northern Wisconsin will be participating in the Big Bundle Up. It's the 9th year of Wisconsin's tourism industry, and they're helping to gather new and gently used warm winter gear. More than 155,000 items have been donated since the program began, and items can be dropped off through November 25th at more than 65 locations around the state. That includes chambers in Boulder Junction, Land O'Lakes, Minocqua, Phelps, Phillips, Rhinelander, and Three Lakes.
Taking you across the country this half hour, today Boeing CEO Dennis Muilenburg will testify before the Senate Commerce Committee. The hearing is intended to examine issues associated with the 737 MAX aircraft following 2 fatal crashes since last year. The committee will first hear from Boeing on actions taken to improve safety and the company's interaction with relevant federal regulators. National Transportation Safety Board Chair Robert Sumwalt and others will appear before a second panel to discuss the status of the 737 MAX and relevant safety recommendations. The hearing is scheduled to begin at 10 a.m.
Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama will speak at a summit in Chicago today. They'll outline their vision for the Obama Presidential Center, and the 2-day Obama Foundation Summit kicked off yesterday. The Obama Foundation released new renderings of the Presidential Center detailing different parts of the campus, including a public library, plaza, and playground. The $500 million center is planned along the lakefront of Chicago's South Side, near where Mr. Obama started his political career and lived with his family.
Well, it's now 6:07, and coming up this morning on Newswatch 12 today, fires continue to sweep across California and have burned many structures along the way.
That's right. We'll have more on the fires that have forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate across the state. Plus, Devin has his full forecast when we return.
Thank you for making Len's Truck the Midwest's largest used truck dealer. Power Strokes, Cummins, Duramex, half-ton trucks, SUVs, all priced to move. Find over 800 of the best used trucks online at lenstruck.com.
We got the trucks at Len's
We got the trucks.
Everyone sleeps at Tomahawk Furniture and Gun. Prices so low you have to bend over to see them. 199beds.com.
Woo!
Want to sleep watching TV? Check out our recliners. 199beds.com.
Woo!
Want to pass out face first on a sofa? Check out our sofas. 199beds.com.
Woo!
And beds, we got beds starting at $199. Check us out. 199beds.com.
Woo!
Everyone sleeps at Tomahawk Furniture and Gun.
In 1930, we began helping people in Milwaukee who were hurt and killed by the carelessness of others. Over the past 89 years, the awards for our clients totals well into the billions of dollars, probably more than all the other personal injury firms in the state combined. When you do something for so long, you tend to get pretty good at it. And we will continue that fight for justice every day in towns throughout Wisconsin. Habish, and Rotier.
WXBR will be hosting our annual fall auction and concert Sunday, November 3rd at Holiday Acres in Rhinelander. Silent and live auctions, live music by Good Morning Bedlam, as well as wine and hors d'oeuvres. Great getaway packages will be available for bidding. Tickets are $20. More information available at WXPR.org.
Work for righteousness sweet, and if only my mind didn't stay my own feet.
Where can you find over 800 of the best used trucks money can buy? Len's Truck, the Midwest's largest used truck dealer.
We got the trucks at Len's Truck.
And welcome back. We had some snow this morning across the region. You can see a little bit on the ground in Stevens Point, but overall things have quieted on down, and now the headline is more the cold weather than even the snow this morning. We did have some winter weather advisories up, and within the last little while, the Green Bay office has dropped the advisories for the rest of the state, so everything has quieted on down for us, and we have a pretty nice day in store for us, except for the chilly temperatures. Everything right now is pretty much all clutter. We have some snow currently left in parts of the Marquette area. Otherwise, things really kind of quieting on down. We have nothing to talk about. Even the clouds are starting to clear on out, moving from southwest to northeast, and we're going to be seeing a good amount of sunshine across the region today, kind of mixing in with the clouds from time to time. Zooming things out a little bit, here's that cold front tracking off to the east. It'll be leaving us alone later on. There's another system up in parts of Canada. We got to watch this system here, as that's going to be tracking up to the north and east and kind of giving parts of the region more precipitation coming up just in time for Halloween. Here is your temperature trend, though. Things are going to get a little on the chilly side. Again, middle to upper 30s will be the general theme coming out for the next several days between now and next week. Temperatures not warming up anytime soon. We're supposed to be in the upper 30s for this time of the year. Your future cast coming up, the clouds. Good news is the clouds are getting out of here, so we'll have some sunshine coming up today. Heading into the evening hours tonight, the stars will come out, and it's going to get a little chilly tonight because we'll have no wind, clear skies equals radiational cooling, which in a nutshell means temperatures are going to drop like a rock tonight. Heading into the overnight hours tonight, we might see some clouds for our southern counties, which would stop any temperatures from dropping, but for our northern counties, it's not going to help out much at all because the temperatures will not drop very quick, or temperatures will drop like a rock because there's no cloud cover to stop that. Zooming things out a little bit, here is our next system that'll track in here just in time for the morning hours on Thursday. That's one we'll have to keep an eye on, as our European model actually tracks this thing up into the region just in time for the morning hours on Thursday. And it'll get on out of here by the afternoon hours, the evening hours on Thursday. So trick-or-treating, if there's any trick-or-treating events coming on Thursday night, things should hopefully be okay. Just a little on the chilly side. Upper 30s to low 40s will be the high temperatures today with a mixture of clouds and sun. Painting things down to the southern part of the state. Again, some lower 40s across the region. Adams County will look to be the warmest with 42 degrees with a mixture of clouds and some sun. Tonight, though, 17 degrees. It's going to get cold with mostly clear skies and no wind to talk about whatsoever. It's going to be very cold out there because there's nothing to keep the temperatures up. We'll only warm up into the middle to upper 30s tomorrow for most of the region, so it's not going to be a warm day at all across the region. So again, have the winter coats handy because winter pretty much arrived early this year. Here is a look at that Northwoods Furniture 7-day forecast just in time for Halloween. A rain and snow mix possible. Again, Friday and Saturday, slight chances of snow possible as a few weather systems from Canada moves on in. Otherwise, Sunday looking pretty good with the time change coming up. Set your clocks back an hour. More precipitation moving in on Monday.
Alrighty, thanks so much, Devin. Well, this morning, several wildfires continue to burn all across California. The worst of the blazes is the Kincaid fire in Northern California.
And overnight, we're learning that the blaze has taken more than 100 structures and threatened at least 90,000 more. Across the state, hundreds of thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate.
NBC's Jay Gray has our story.
From a distance, there's a disturbing beauty to the orange glow. But a closer look reveals the ugly reality of the wildfires burning across California right now. Flames gutting homes and swallowing entire communities from the wine country through Los Angeles. Several wildfires raging out of control, fire teams rushing in.
So it's really been hard to try to get ahead of the fire because behind the fire, we have all these homes that we need to be protecting.
Protection that for some comes just as hope is beginning to fade.
The embers were falling and we were fighting off the gardeners on both sides. It looks like we held it off just in time for the firefighters to come.
The battle continues around the clock and across the state, but right now, Mother Nature is winning this fight. Parched land and powerful winds, at times gusting to hurricane strength, feeding and pushing the flames. With little relief in sight. Jay Gray, NBC News, Los Angeles.
You know, even just watching that here from Wisconsin, it's really hard to see and hard to believe it's all happening right now.
Yeah, it's just terrifying, and we certainly hope that everything gets under control soon.
Absolutely. But coming up this morning, we do have what's trending, including how one fan at the World Series took a bit of a hit to hold on to the 2 beers he was drinking. We'll explain.
Plus, you may remember the kid who wore a hot dog suit for his school picture. Well, check this out. He got a pretty sweet surprise. We'll have those stories and more coming up next on What's Trending.
It feels like you've been planning for your future your whole life. You had plans for your job, your family, your vacation, where your kids could go to college. Sometimes it seemed like random events had more control over your life than your plans ever did. You planned for your retirement, sort of. Retirement seemed so far away. Now would be a great time to have a discussion about your future because, in case you haven't noticed it lately, the future is now. Call us for a discussion on your present, your future, and all the random events that are still to come.
Is that too heavy? Try it.
I got it.
Wow, this looks amazing. Can I help you make a few?
Sure.
You sure?
Huh?
Hi, I'm Derek. Nice to meet you. What's the ultimate dream for your business?
We have this hunger project that I give back to the kids to buy food.
How long have you had this dream?
10 years.
So you're 6 years old and you had the dream for 10 years. That's pretty good. That's someone that knows what they want to do in life.
I was out here all day yesterday and didn't get a bite. Got my bait at the other guy's shop. Where'd you get yours?
Kurt's Island Sport Shop, of course.
Kurt's Island Sport Shop, downtown Minocqua.
With the all-new Silverado HD, Silverado's now the only truck brand that can offer trucks with best-in-class towing, or trucks with best-in-class camera technology, or larger, more functional beds than any competitor. The only truck that can compare to a Silverado is another Silverado. Or get a total value of over $9,500 on this Silverado with a larger, more functional bed than any competitor. Or during Truck Month, make no monthly payments for 90 days. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Journey to North Star Mohican Casino Resort, where winning, excitement, and entertainment unite. This October, we're giving away over $350,000 in cash and prizes, including our Hell on Wheels Classic Muscle Car giveaway. Receive 1 entry for every 25 points earned daily all month long. And don't forget to let the cool times roll at our Halloween party October 26th. Come to where the stars align at North Star Mohican Casino Resort in Bowler, Wisconsin.
This portion of Newswatch 12 is brought to you by Eagle Floor Covering on Twilight Lane, Eagle River.
It is now about 6:15, and time now for What's Trending. Well, while the Washington Nationals dropped a third straight game to the Houston Astros in the World Series over the weekend, there was one fan who was willing to give up his body for the team, or at the very least, for a home run ball. Check this out. In Sunday's Game 5, Astros' Yordan Alvarez goes deep to center field, but the Nats fan Jeff Adams has a dilemma: drop his 2 beers or catch the World Series ball. Well, he kept his beers and decided to body up on the home run ball, and it bounced off of his chest. Well, it's a technique that he said he learned in Little League Baseball when he played catcher. And while his bruise may be around for a while, he has a story and a World Series ball that he can share for the rest of his life. And get this, Bud Light took to Twitter to commend him, calling him a hero. And Bud Light also indicated that it plans to reach out to Adams to repay him for his unshakable protection of the beverages under the circumstances. And whether that will take the form of endorsement deals or free beer for life remains to be seen. So impressive performance by him.
Sounds like a win-win situation, because he said he got to keep the ball right. So that looks like a win-win situation. Just maybe that little bruise.
Yeah, a little pain. Yeah.
Because that ball's probably, what, 100 miles per hour at least? So that's gotta hurt, right?
No pain, no gain, right? Exactly. But also, too, I look at it and I'm like, that would hurt. I wouldn't do it, obviously, but like, Devin, you should give it a try and get some free beer for us.
I'll try.
But you also know like how expensive beer is at any sporting event. So I think he made the right call.
Right call.
Double fisted.
That's a little painful there.
Yeah,
exactly. But a great thing to see there too. And Devin, you're gonna like this because I know you do love some hot dogs, right? Well, a photo making the rounds on social media lately warranted a visit from the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. Take a look at this. We recently told you about Jake Arsenault's unique school photo, and it's now been shared more than 32,000 times on Facebook. The 4th grader opted for a hot dog costume during the picture after a dare from his dad, and the picture caught the attention of Oscar Mayer, so of course the Wienermobile paid a personal visit to Jake on Monday. Oscar Mayer also gave Arsenault an honorary hot dogger de jour certificate, and they named him Jumbo Frank Jake. Jake told his teachers that he thought the experience was awesome, and I have to agree. And I also love that there were hot dog costumes on the Wienermobile. Look at that. They look so happy, and they have such big smiles, and great thing.
That is too cute. And I love too that, you know, both of these big companies are kind of coming through. You know, Bud Light for that fan, you know, hopefully he'll get some free beer out of it. And now for this adorable little kid, he gets a ride on the Wienermobile. I've always wanted to ride in it. I've seen it a couple times here in Wisconsin, but how fun for him.
Yeah. Yes, I've definitely seen it before too. Definitely very cool. And man, those drivers had to drive all over the U.S., right? I think so.
Yeah, got to promote it, but I think that they should take him along for a while. Take him on a field trip with them in his hot dog costume.
It just shows that, you know, getting yourself out there, being a little different, it can pay off, you know?
It can definitely pay off. And speaking of costumes, our next story is going to handle a little bit of a Halloween theme here, and some science too. So just in time for Halloween, a scary image from another galaxy, or 2 galaxies in fact. The Hubble telescope spotting a spooky face in outer space. The eerie floating visage, is actually an optical illusion, the result of 2 galaxies colliding. The glowing eyes of the face each represent the center of a galaxy. Young blue stars help form the face's outline. Other groups of new stars create the appearance of a mouth and nose. The system, which is 704 million light years away from the Earth, was formed by a head-on galaxy collision, which is pretty rare. And NASA also shared another picture to get everyone in the Halloween spirit. The space agency shared a Facebook photo of the sun looking like a flaming jack-o'-lantern. It captured the spooky image in 2014. This occurred when active regions of the sun burned more brightly than others. So definitely a very spooky situation there, just in time for Halloween, right?
I just think it's so crazy that both of them look like faces, you know, like it looks like someone staring at you almost. But it's so cool to see stuff that's, you know, beyond Earth.
Yeah, always very cool. Science is fun, right?
Yeah, no, I love that. I always see different things in the clouds, but didn't really necessarily think about, you know, seeing different faces or things out in space too. So yeah, really, really fun for this time of year.
Yeah, and all we're seeing here in Wisconsin is snow, right?
Yeah, all we're seeing in Wisconsin is snow, which fortunately is finally done, and the clouds are getting out of here also. Eagle River, all nice and quiet this morning. The pavement, of course, is going to be a little wet for a while until we can get some sunshine on it. Your radar and satellite, the clouds clearing out, so is the snow. So it's going to be a nice start to the morning. Just just going to be a little on the chilly side. Here is that futurecast. Nothing to talk about today, just partly cloudy skies, maybe some clouds moving in by later on tonight into early Wednesday morning as another system starts tracking in our direction. Here is your hourly forecast, warming up into the upper 30s today to low 40s, so about similar to yesterday. We'll see some sunshine, so at least help brighten the mood a little bit. Here is your 7-day forecast, some pros and cons of the forecast. I guess a con, it's going to be in the mid to upper 30s, but some good news to report. Today, sunshine. Some sunshine will mix in Wednesday and also throughout the weekend. And then we gain an hour of sleep on Sunday as we set the clocks back, but more precipitation on the way, so I definitely need to keep an eye on that. We'll have more news and weather coming up after the break.
This portion of Newswatch 12 is brought to you by Sleep Central in Minocqua.
This is the nimble Chevy Trax, the versatile Chevy Equinox, the stylish all-new Chevy Blazer, and the roomy Chevy Traverse with seating for up to 8. The Chevy family of SUVs. No matter what you're looking for in an SUV, Chevy's got you covered.
Get over $4,200 below MSRP on this 2020 Equinox.
Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in Wisconsin.
Hi, my name is Betty. I had taken a fall in November and, unbeknownst to me, got a horrible whiplash. Dr. Scher was the first one to tell me, well, you know, Betty, you've got 2 bulging discs and a pinched nerve. So I signed up with Dr. Scher. It worked. It worked. I mean, I now have full range of motion. It was life-changing. I don't have any pain.
Are you suffering with back or neck pain and considering the possibility of surgery? At the Spinal Aid Center of Wausau, we incorporate the latest technologies, including high-intensity laser therapy that provides the highest success rates in helping people just like you avoid back and neck surgery. With our treatments, there are no drugs and no surgery. Just relief. Call today for a free spinal disc severity consultation and see if our treatments are right for you. Call 715-203-4392 or visit us at spinalaid.com. Start living your life pain-free.
After your accident, go after every dollar you deserve. Call Hupy and Abraham.
They got me almost $2 million.
$400,000.
They got me way more than the insurance company offered.
They even came to my house.
Tell the insurance company you mean business and put a law firm with power, experience, and resources on your side. Call Hupy and Abraham. Get their win or it's free guarantee.
Because a good lawyer shouldn't cost you more. They should get you more.
This portion of Newswatch 12 is brought to you by Lakeland Sign and Graphics.
And welcome back. It's a little chilly out here this morning. You'll definitely need a winter coat, which I do not have on right now. I would encourage you all to definitely get your winter coats on today. Right now, a live look in our sky cam. 21 degrees. As expected, temperatures are dropping in Rhinelander. Again, those winter coats will be needed, but the good news is there is no wind, so there is no wind chill. Here's a look at those current temperatures across the region. 27 degrees in Mosinee, 20 degrees up in Manitowish Waters. Here's a look at your radar and satellite. The snow is finally getting out of here. We have a few clouds across the region, but things are starting to clear out. We'll have a very nice day in store for us. Here is the travel forecast here on this Tuesday. Again, low 40s, even some middle 40s with a mixture of clouds and sun. Little cooler to the east, upper 30s to low 40s with some sunshine. And then panning to the south, same deal, mixture of clouds and sun, lower 40s for those high temperatures. So again, a good day to travel. Here is today's Birthday Club.
Football Night in America, brought to you by Aspirus. Passion for excellence, compassion for people.
Thank you for making Len's Truck the Midwest's largest used truck dealer. Power Strokes, Cummins, Duramex, half-ton trucks, SUVs, all priced to move. Find over 800 of the best used trucks online at lenstruck.com.
We got the trucks at Len's Truck.
We got the trucks.
Building, remodeling, or updating your home or cabin? Come to Dahlquist Heating and Cooling to find your new fireplace. With a large selection of stylish gas, wood, and pellet units to fit any decor and keep your family comfortable through all seasons. We offer 0% financing and provide 24/7 service. Dahlquist Heating and Cooling is family owned and operated. Visit us today on South Boss Lake Road in Rhinelander. Be sure to ask about our current specials.
I thought I was managing my moderate to severe ulcerative colitis, but I realized something was missing. Me. The thought of my symptoms returning was keeping me from being there for the people and things I love most. So I talked to my doctor and learned Humira can help get and keep UC under control when other medications haven't worked well enough. And it helps people achieve control that lasts, so you could experience few or no symptoms.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Be there for you and them. Ask your gastroenterologist about Humira. With Humira, control is possible.
Together we can make this year's season shine bigger and brighter than last year's event. Lights of the North Woods is a family tradition, and you can be a part of it. Lights needs volunteers, sponsors, and donations to make this a grand community event. Lights' main mission is to help feed the hungry and create a festive atmosphere in the North Woods. This year's event will be 2 weekends, December 13th to the 15th and 20th to the 22nd at Hodag Park in Rhinelander. Donate, sponsor, or volunteer now at lightsofthenorthwoods.com.
Where can you find over 800 of the best used trucks money can buy? Len's Truck, the Midwest's largest used truck dealer.
We got the trucks at Len's Truck.
Right now on Newswatch 12 today, Governor Tony Evers signed an executive order designed to prevent hard-to-count populations in Wisconsin for next year's census. We'll explain. Plus,
we had some snow move through last night too early this morning, but the good news, that's moving on out of here. I'll have a full forecast coming up.
Witnesses like Dr. Kupperman need to do their duty and show up.
Democrats say Thursday's full House vote will ensure transparency and provide a clear path forward on their impeachment inquiry, which President Trump and GOP allies have slammed as illegitimate. It's Tuesday, October 29th.
Your local news and weather from where you live. Newswatch 12 Today starts now.
you might find a postcard or letter from the U.S. government in your mailbox soon asking how many people live in your home. Good morning, I'm Marissa Silvas.
And I'm Angela Kim. It's a part of the U.S. Census, but many different communities in northern Wisconsin don't always fill out the survey.
Newswatch 12's Stephen Goen has more on the effort to quantify the state's hard-to-count populations.
In Milwaukee Monday, Governor Tony Evers announced his plan to make sure all Wisconsinites are counted in the 2020 census. Evers signing Executive Order 55, which creates the Wisconsin Complete Count Committee. The group is designed to identify barriers that may prevent hard-to-count communities in Wisconsin from completing the national survey. Those populations include immigrant communities, members of tribal nations, Latino and Hmong people, as well as those who live in rural communities, untraditional housing, or have physical disabilities. According to census data, many of those communities are in northern Wisconsin. Eric Giordano with the Wisconsin Institute for Public Policy and Service says that effort is worth it.
As a citizen of Wisconsin, we should want to know who is here. We should want to have an accurate count.
Without an accurate count, people in Wisconsin could see changes in local government. In the year 2000, Wisconsin went from 9 congressional districts to 8 because of a declining population. With the number of babies born in the state down 12% in the past 10 years, Wisconsin is expected to see more death than birth within the next 2 decades. That trend would ultimately affect representation in Congress.
I think that potentially could mean less voice and less opportunities for us here compared to other states.
In Wausau, Stephen Goen, Newswatch 12.
And for the first time in 2020, people will be able to respond to the census both online from any device or traditionally by mail or by phone.
Wow, something to look forward to. It's almost the end of 2019 now.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know, almost the end of October, too.
I know. It's crazy stuff, but it's also feeling like it, too, weather-wise.
It certainly is. We're waking up to just a dusting of snow outdoors, so not as bad as we were initially thinking.
Yeah, we were a little worried, but nothing too bad.
Which is good. For more on what to expect for the rest of the day, let's head right on over to our weather center, and Devin Biggs in for Tyler Moore this morning. And Devin, just a little bit of snow. Could be some slick spots on the roads, though, but it sounds like a pretty nice warm-up later today.
Yeah, very nice warm-up in store for us. We will have a few slick spots possible today, so just keep that in mind, but otherwise it should be a pretty nice day as you head out the door for work or school. Let's take a live look in Stevens Point right now. Things are quieting down. You can see there is some snow on the ground down in Stevens Point this morning, but the good news, nothing on the radar, and even the clouds are beginning to thin on out. Let's zoom things out a little bit. You can see the clouds are clearing out in parts of Wisconsin this morning. Farther off towards the west, another system is heading in our direction. That will not get here until early Thursday morning. Here's a look at those temperatures right now. 20 degrees in Tomahawk, 21 degrees in Rhinelander, still 27 degrees in Mosinee at the moment. Here is your bus stop forecast this morning. Temperatures warming up, or actually cooling down to 24 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Some areas are colder than that, so make sure to keep that in mind. But then warming up to 39 degrees with mostly sunny skies. Here is your day planner. Once the sun starts rising, temperatures will warm up nicely to 39 degrees by the afternoon. We'll have your full forecast coming up in a little bit.
A man convicted of murder and the disappearance of his wife in central Wisconsin will be sentenced in November. Yesterday, a Portage County judge set sentencing for Jason Cipher for November 15th. Last week, a Portage County jury found Cipher guilty of murder and hiding a corpse. The verdict came in after a 7-day trial, and Cipher was arrested in August of last year. Krista Cipher's family had not seen or heard from her since March of 2017. Her body has never been found, but investigators found evidence to convince the jury that Jason Cipher had killed her. A first-degree murder conviction carries a mandatory life sentence. A sex offender will be coming back to live in Lincoln County. The sheriff's office says that Louis Bozinski will finish his sentence on November 5th and be released under community supervision. He was convicted of second-degree sexual assault in 2005 and third-degree sexual assault in 2007. Both cases involved adult women he was acquainted with, and Bozinski will be under GPS monitoring after his release.
The state of Wisconsin has a lot of money in the bank. The state now has the highest budget reserve in the past 40 years at $1.7 billion. The overall state's tax revenue was increased due to the amount of the Wisconsin corporate tax revenue. The report mentions that the Federal Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed by Congress allowed corporations to shift taxes from 2017 into 2018, the year the law took effect. The spike in corporate tax collections was also partly due to a tax law change that was included in a package of bills pushed by Republican state lawmakers just before former Governor Scott Walker left office. In the past, strong tax revenue years have often been followed by recessions and difficult state budgets.
After Justice David Prosser resigned in 2016, former Governor Scott Walker appointed Dan Kelly to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Now, Kelly will face his first public election to keep his seat. He will square off in November against his two challengers in the first debate. Supreme Court races are officially nonpartisan, but Republicans support the incumbent Kelly, and Democrats back newcomers Joe Karofsky and Ed Falone. The three candidates will face off in a February primary, and the top two vote getters will advance to a general election in April. The election could serve as an indicator of Republicans' chances across the state heading into the fall election season.
Former House Speaker Paul Ryan announced his new nonprofit on Monday. He says the American Idea Foundation will be focused on fighting poverty and increasing economic opportunities. Ryan also said it will promote evidence-based reforms on issues